Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani klekwas dumelava nave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show that remains your portal into Africa's most potent stories. Later in the show, we're going to be joined by Arrie Hougaard as he delivers the South Africa report. Rorisang Mokhodjwe has also got some important economic updates during the top stories. But prior to that, these are some of the stories you're looking at from broader Africa. In South Africa, Cleveland informal settlement attack leaves 12 dead and 9 injured. And then we're going to be talking about the World Cup scandal. Somalia referee Omar Artan says his World Cup exclusion was fate. DSTV285 GOTV 251up2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA. Those are the places you can always watch us. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
We start with a harrowing first story. South Africa's police are investigating a mass shooting that left 12 people dead and 9 others injured at the Jumpers informal settlement in Cleveland on the East Rand. The South African Police Service said the attack took place at about 11 p.m. on 9 June when gunmen entered the settlement and opened fire. Responding officers arrived to find several victims suffering from gunshot wounds. Emergency medical services were called to the scene to assist the wounded and transport them to hospitals across the East Rand. Gauteng Police spokesperson Captain Tinswalo Sibeko said 8 adult men and 3 adult women were declared dead at the scene. A 12th victim, an adult man, later died in hospital. South African police said the motive for the attack remains unknown. Investigators believe more than 10 suspects were dropped near a petrol station in Cleveland by a white Toyota Quantum. The suspects allegedly entered the settlement through both entrances before moving through the area and opening fire on residents and community members at several locations. The suspects reportedly fled in the same vehicle. South African authorities have launched a manhunt and appealed for public assistance. And now we swing over to the World Cup. Somalia referee Omar Abdulkadir Artan has described his exclusion from the FIFA World Cup in the United States as fate after returning to Somalia. Artan, who was named Africa's Referee of the Year in 2025, had been expected to become the first Somali referee to officiate at football's global showpiece. However, U.S. Customs and Border Protection turned him back over the weekend. The Trump administration said that the United States denied Artan entry because of links to suspected members of terror organizations. However, when the USA was asked to clarify, they did not respond. Speaking after arriving in Mogadishu, the Somali official said what had happened was fate. and expressed gratitude for the support he received from FIFA. Artan urged Somalis to continue supporting their country and encouraged young people not to lose hope. A FIFA spokesperson confirmed that the Somali referee would no longer be able to train or officiate at the tournament being hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Somali football supporters reacted with disappointment to the development. Somalia's government said it had unsuccessfully engaged with the United States and FIFA in an effort to secure Artan's entry and expressed sadness over the outcome. And this has been one of a plethora of controversies surrounding the World Cup 2026. However, it does begin tonight in Mexico, South Africa versus one of the hosts, Mexico. A replay of 2010 where South Africa's draw felt like a win because of that incredible Shabalala goal. We'll see if the Mexicans will be plotting revenge and able to enact it, or if Bafana can shock us yet again. FIFA World Cup starts tonight. Now we swing over to Botswana with our correspondent Rorisang Mohojwe, now talking about the Airport City World Trade Centre project, which is officially underway.
And it is being developed through a partnership between the government of Botswana and a Dubai-based construction firm, the Al Badad Group. And once it is completed, the Botswana World Trade Centre is expected to serve as a major hub for trade, for investment, exhibition, conferences, as well as business tourism and international commerce. However, a notable and key feature of this development is the anticipated impact on employment. It is expected to create between 25,000 and 37,500 jobs across various sectors, including in construction, retail, logistics, business services, and tourism, as well as hospitality. Now, when he was launching this project at the groundbreaking ceremony, President Duma Boko described it as an important investment into the country's future, saying that it forms part of efforts to build a more diversified and more resilient economy that is less dependent on diamonds, as we have seen that the economy of Botswana has taken a hit due to declining diamond sales and revenues. And so authorities are saying that this project will strengthen the country's ongoing economic diversification agenda by creating modern infrastructure which is aimed at attracting investors and supporting private sector growth. And so the country is expecting this project at the new airport city that is currently under construction to position and strengthen Botswana's position rather as a gateway for regional and global business activity.
All right, many thanks to Rorisang Mohojwe for that update. Now, as you know, in Namibia, 2 to 4 September, we're going to be having the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo, and the whole idea is to magnify the integration that is already pre-existing between these three industries. Creativity needs sport, sport needs tourism, and vice versa. Now, in Botswana, they have a structured approach to what seems to be an idea that is now gaining momentum around Africa, as the Business of Sport Summit is set to explore economic opportunities.
Its traditional focus on competitions and medals, and just position itself as a meaningful contributor to the national economy. And this is going to be a key point of discussion at this inaugural Business of Sport Summit, which is set to take place between the 25th and 26th of this month in Gaborone. And organizers are saying that the summit will explore how sport can be leveraged to drive investment, entrepreneurship, tourism, as well as job creation, just as its name suggests that it is the Business of Sport Summit. And so this is expected to strengthen the sporting sector's contribution to the country's economic development goals. And so the founder of this initiative, Bonidin Dwa, says that the summit was inspired by the need to align sport with government's broader economic transformation agenda and just unlock opportunities that extend beyond the field of play. And discussions, we understand, will be focused on identifying identifying opportunities within Botswana's sporting economy, as well as examining ways to focus or to create a more sustainable and commercially viable sporting industry. Because as Mr. Dinto was saying, sport has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry globally, but Botswana has not yet fully tapped into this economic potential. And so essentially the organizers are saying that sport can generate value through areas such as sponsorship, broadcasting rights, event hosting, sports tourism, merchandising, as well as just athlete development across board. And this will then in turn create opportunities for businesses and employment across multiple sectors. And so this inaugural summit will provide that platform for that dialogue, as well as collaboration and networking amongst key stakeholders, with the main aim, of course, of identifying practical strategies to grow Botswana's sporting industry and maximize its economic impact, and also to position the sporting sector as more than just medals, as more than just field play, but also as an important driver of investment, enterprise development, as well as job creation.
All right, that's our correspondent in Gaborone, Botswana, Rorisang Mogojwe. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Shortly, we will be joined by Arrie Hougaard as he delivers the South Africa report.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative sport tourism.
Weekday evening for the Evening Review as we unpack the issues shaping Namibia. From politics and economics to culture and community life, our team delivers sharp analysis, expert insights and conversations with Namibians across society. It's not just the headlines, it's the full picture. Stay informed and engaged with the Evening Review.
All right, it's time for us to dig into the South Africa report with Mr. Arrie Hougaard as he talks about illicit alcohol and cigarettes trading in South Africa increasing rapidly as billions of rand is lost annually in tax revenue. And then also it is reported that the city of Johannesburg and municipal entities had written off more than 45 billion rand, while city residents and businesses owe the city more than 70 billion rand.
In current news in South Africa, we firstly look at illicit alcohol use in South Africa, illegal alcohol. There's lots of volumes of that in South Africa, unfortunately, at the moment. And the fears are that the fate will be the same as the tobacco sector. And so both tobacco and alcohol is under pressure at the moment. So it's difficult to estimate the value of the tobacco and the alcohol illicit use at the moment in South Africa. That is mainly because it is illegal and it's largely hidden. So at the moment, the cigarettes, related to cigarettes, it's estimated that 60% of all cigarettes sold in South Africa is illicit cigarettes. So it may be 75% even in 2026. So South African Revenue Services has already indicated that they lose 40 billion South African rand. That is in excise revenue. That is just from cigarettes. So the alcohol industry is under pressure as well. And there's fears that it might take the same road as the tobacco sector. And fear is also of higher taxes on alcohol by the National Treasury, and that will obviously open up the gap between legal and illegal products. So people, the customers mostly, then in certain sectors go for the cheaper products. And so what's happening now, there's a study that's been done in terms of illicit alcohol use in South Africa, and it cost the fiscus, that will the South African Revenue Services, about 16 billion South African rand that is lost in a tax income or tax revenue. So illicit alcohol volume is up to 773,000 hectolitres. That was in 2024. That was a study that was done, and it was up from 500,000 hectolitres in 2017. And so the value of the market at the moment of illicit alcohol in South Africa is estimated at about 30 billion South African rand. So it's a huge problem in South Africa. And Heineken, some of the leading alcohol suppliers and also South African breweries, they ask for stronger regulations by authorities, obviously. So illicit alcohol at the moment in South Africa, that's about 18% of the total South African market, 18%. So that is related to alcohol and cigarettes in South Africa. Well, current news is related to the city of Johannesburg, still struggling with finances, and a massive amount was written off. And so the city of Johannesburg and municipal entities wrote off 45.16 billion South African rand. And that is mainly because of unauthorized payments and wasteful expenditure. And also the city of Johannesburg, their debt is quite high as well. They owe Eskom 3.2 billion South African rand, also 23 billion in short-term liabilities. But then again, it is also the man on the street and the businesses that also owe city of Johannesburg quite a lot of money. So money owed to the city is 71.9 billion South African rand. That is from residents and businesses. That's unpaid municipal accounts that add up to that massive amount. So that is a huge challenge at the moment for service provision in the city of Johannesburg. And also, to close off current news in South Africa, it's related to xenophobia, and it's still a big problem all over the country. Malawi, the government got involved, and there was lots of Malawi residents or nationals that was put on a bus in Kleinmond in Cape Town, and they went back to Malawi. There was 3 buses that left Kleinmond, but also a big problem in Durban. There's about 1,000 Malawian citizens that fled the Clare Estate informal settlement, and they needed to be helped with tents and accommodation and food, etc. So that is a problem in Durban as well. So hopefully the government can address that, and it is also possible that the Malawi government will help us, many of those people, to go back to Malawi again. So that is current news at the moment in South Africa.
All right, Arrie, it's that time. South Africa facing Mexico at the commencement of the World Cup 2026, and South Africa women's cricket team playing against Australia on Saturday in their first T20 World Cup game in England.
In sport news in South Africa, the big news is that the Bafana men's soccer team is part of the opening game of the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup 2026 that start on Thursday. That is in Mexico, America, and also in Canada. So the opening game is South Africa that will play against Mexico, a tough away game for them. That is Thursday, 9 p.m. Namibian time, that will be televised. So it is also a tournament already in controversy. It haven't started yet, but controversy related to ticket prices, also the political tension that there is, and the ongoing global conflict also didn't help. But the tournament starts on Thursday. 48 teams that will compete. That will be 32 of them that will go through to the knockout stages, and there's 12 groups of 4 teams. South Africa play against Mexico. They also play against South Korea and Chechnya. That is in their group. That is Group A of the Soccer World Cup. So all the best for Bafana in the opening game against Mexico. Also another World Cup that starts, that's a T20 Women's Cricket World Cup that will be played in England and Wales. South Africa also qualified for that, and one of the favourites to go through to the final. But in a tough group, they will play in Group 1, and that is against India and Australia also in those group. In that group also Bangladesh, Netherlands and Pakistan. The challenge for South Africa, only 2 of the 6 teams go through to the semi-finals. So only 2 teams of South Africa, India and Australia will go through in that group. In the other group, it will be England, New Zealand and the West Indies, also Ireland, Scotland and Sri Lanka. And South Africa start their campaign with the first game this coming Saturday. A tough game for them. They play at Old Trafford in Manchester. They play against Australia in their first game. So it is team members like Marizanne Kapp and Captain Laura Wolfhard that will be some of the cricketers for the women's team that will hopefully perform well for them to go through to the knockout stages. So that is sport news in South Africa.
All right, thank you very much, Arrie, for delivering the South Africa report. From us in the Africa Good Morning studio, we're going to be saying goodbye now on DSTV285 GOTV, 285 1up2.com, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA. We'll be back tomorrow talking about tonight's FIFA World Cup and, of course, the potent stories stemming from the beautiful African continent. However, we won't leave you empty-handed. Here are the economic indicators. Suraj Wakanaka.